Welcome ICSC 2026-27 batch to this premium explainer. Look, if you're aiming for a perfect 100 out of 100 in physics, you are in the exact right place. Today, we're laying down the ultimate theoretical foundation for the refraction of light. We're going to cover exactly what it is, the physical cause, like how light changing speed is the real culprit here, and how optical density dictates the direction of bending. Plus, we'll lock down the laws of refraction and the mathematical powerhouse that is Snell's law. And here is our roadmap for complete syllabus mastery. Once we have those core theories down, we'll apply them to practical applications. We're going to decode the refractive index and the principle of reversibility, and then track light straight through a rectangular glass slab to master lateral displacement. Finally, we'll tackle real depth, apparent depth, and shift to ensure your numerical mastery is absolutely bulletproof. All right, let's jump straight into part one, the core of refraction. So let's start with something you've probably noticed in real life. Have you ever dangled your legs in a swimming pool and thought, whoa, my legs look weirdly bent and thick? Or maybe you've looked at the bottom of the pool and it seemed way shallower than it actually is? Well, we're going to solve that mystery right now by looking closely at how light actually behaves. It all comes down to this one crucial definition. Refraction is simply the change in the direction of the path of light when it passes from one transparent medium to another. But why does it happen? What's the actual physical cause? It's all about speed. Light changes direction simply because its speed changes the moment it enters a new medium. It's literally a surface phenomenon happening right at that invisible boundary between two different optical environments. And this brings us to how we categorize these different environments using optical density. Now, quick reminder, this is not physical mass density. A rare medium is one where light travels faster, like air. A denser medium is where light slows down, like water or glass. Think of a sprinter running on a hard, paved road. They're going fast, right? But the second they hit a sandy track, our denser medium, their speed drops dramatically, they lose balance, and their path bends. That is exactly what happens to light. Now, to make sure you never mix up which way the light bends on your board exams, I want you to memorize this brilliant hook. Radiation. RED stands for rarer, D for denser. So when light goes from a rarer to a denser medium, it bends towards the normal. Radiation. Keep that in your back pocket, and you'll definitively predict the bending direction every single time. And of course, the reverse is true. Going denser to rarer, it bends away. Okay, moving on to section 2, Snell's law and reversibility. So we've got the physical phenomenon down. Now let's lock in the mathematical rules. Refraction strictly obeys two laws. The first one should sound pretty familiar if you remember the rules of reflection. The incident ray, the refracted ray, and the normal at the point of incidence all strictly lie in the exact same plane. They are flat against the same geometric surface. But the second law is the real game changer here. Famously known as Snell's law, it states that for a given pair of media and a specific wavelength of light, the ratio of the sine of the angle of incidence to the sine of the angle of refraction is constant. This constant is your authoritative mathematical formula. You're going to use this to confidently tackle all those foundational conceptual queries. Building right on top of that math, we have the principle of reversibility. I love this one because it's so elegant. It basically says that the path of a light ray is completely reversible. If light goes from medium 1 to medium 2, it can flawlessly retrace its exact path backwards from medium 2 back to medium 1. The math flips perfectly. Next up, section 3, decoding the refractive index. Let's decode what is easily the most important constant in this entire chapter. Now, it's absolutely essential to draw a crystal clear distinction between absolute and relative refractive indices. Absolute refractive index is the ratio of the speed of light in a vacuum, or air, compared to its speed in a specific medium. That is your ultimate baseline. Relative refractive index, on the other hand, is when you're comparing the speed in medium 1 directly to the speed in medium 2. To anchor your numerical mastery, you need this bold number burned into your brain. 3 times 10 to the power of 8 meters per second. That is the absolute speed of light in a vacuum. Whenever you're calculating an absolute refractive index, this glorious number is always going to be sitting right on top as your numerator. But here's a fun fact. A medium's refractive index isn't entirely fixed. It actually shifts based on 3 physical factors. First, the optical density, which we talked about. Second, the temperature. It's an inverse relationship. If a medium heats up, light travels faster through it, meaning the refractive index actually drops. And third, the wavelength or color of the light. Red light is the fastest in a medium, so it has the lowest refractive index and bends the least. Violet light is the exact opposite. It's the slowest, so it bends the most. Let's take this into section 4, the glass slab and lateral displacement. Let's bring all this theory into the real world and track a light ray straight through a rectangular glass slab. There are 3 key steps here. Step 1. The incident ray goes from air into the glass. Rarer to denser, so remember radiation, it bends towards the normal. Step 2. That refracted ray travels straight through the dense glass. Step 3. It exits the glass back into the air. Denser to rarer, so it bends away from the normal. Now, because the opposite faces of the glass slab are perfectly parallel, the emergent ray ends up completely parallel to the original incident ray. But if you look closely, you'll notice something. Even though those rays are parallel, they aren't on the exact same line anymore. Because of that double bending at both surfaces, the light physically shifted sideways. That perpendicular separation between the original path of the incident ray and the actual path of the emergent ray is what we definitively call lateral displacement. And if you want to increase that lateral shift, just remember it's directly proportional to 3 things: the thickness of the glass block, the angle of incidence, and the refractive index of the glass itself. Pump up any of those 3, and your lateral displacement gets wider. Finally, section 5, real depth and apparent shift. Let's circle back to our swimming pool, or maybe just a coin at the bottom of a glass of water. Light travels from the denser water to the rarer air, bending away from the normal as it exits. When those diverging rays hit your eyes, your brain traces them straight back, which makes the coin appear way higher up than it actually is. This optical illusion creates a measurable shift, which is simply the real depth minus the apparent depth. And for water, you absolutely need to know this number, 1.33. That's the approximate absolute refractive index of water. Memorize it because you're going to use it repeatedly in your board exams to calculate exactly how much objects in water appear to shift. So let's lock in the formulas for complete mathematical mastery. The refractive index equals the real depth divided by the apparent depth. If you rearrange that, the apparent depth is simply the real depth divided by the refractive index. Keep these in your toolkit and you'll solve those depth and shift numericals effortlessly. Now, as we wrap up this comprehensive theoretical foundation, here is your roadmap for complete syllabus mastery. To secure that perfect score, make sure to subscribe to the ICSE Masterclass YouTube channel for more premium explainers. And honestly, you need to join our official Telegram channel right now. That is where you can download all the accompanying handwritten lecture notes, formula sheets, and chapter-wise question banks for this entire unit. I'll leave you with this final, provocative, board-level question to really test the foundation we just built. When light enters a new medium and changes speed, does its frequency or its wavelength change? Hint, only one survives intact. Drop your answer in the comments. Rely on the core concepts we just mastered and keep exploring the amazing physics of our universe. Catch you next time.